What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Knives of the Round Table. My name is Marco, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Zero Tolerance 0456. That's 0456. Now, in my collection, I have, knives that you can get, everywhere, pair of twos, pair of threes, bug outs, that kind of thing. But I also have a number of knives that have been discontinued, or they're not in production right now, or stuff like that. And I try to I'm not gonna say minimize, but try to do reviews of knives that you can actually get, and then kind of sprinkle in some of the ones that are harder to get or that you can only get in the secondary market. And this one kind of fell into that second category where this one was out of production for a long time. And the reason that I'm dropping this video now is because Zero Tolerance has released, or is releasing, no, I think they have released it, a new version of this model. The model they've released, it's slightly different than this one. It's blue scales, blue anodized scales with a black wash M4 blade. So it's kind of a different version of the knife, but I did want to get the knife review out for you to take a look, and if you decide that you want to go for that other version of the knife, then you have the option to do so. So let me kind of give you a tour of the knife. What you have here is kind of a sheep's foot blade that is kind of flat ground from about right here down. You've got kind of machine satin going down. You've got this very nice wedge. This is a collaboration between Zero Tolerance and Dmitry Sienkiewicz. And so you can see right there, so very much like the Zero Tolerance 0562, that is a collaboration between Zero Tolerance and Rick Hinderer. This is kind of the same thing with Dmitry Sienkiewicz. Now, the only other Sienkiewicz design that I have is a Shirogorov, the Shirogorov Cami. So I'm going to put a picture of the Cami, and you will see some similarities. It's also a sheep's foot blade. It also has kind of the same swedge that kind of breaks halfway. You can see that it has kind of the Sienkiewicz flavor, okay? And what you have here is this blurple anodized, and hopefully the purple comes through here. It's kind of hidden in between the holes, the purple is. So hopefully you can see a little bit of it, maybe. You've got a blue anodized backspacer and blue anodized pocket clip, pen pocket clip. You have a lock bar insert. This is a titanium frame lock. It's running on bearings, and let me give you some dimensions because this is really nice. 3 1/4 inches, which is my ideal size, as you all know, which gets you kind of a full-size blade without I still consider this a full-size knife. That's kind of my limit. 3 1/4 inches is what I still consider a full-size knife. Anything less than that, I consider more of a compact type knife. So yeah, there you go. So let me give you some size comparisons, and then we can get started. You're gonna see a common theme every time I talk about the 3 1/4 inch blades, which is exactly the middle size in length between the pair 2 and the pair 3. That's kind of where this falls. Now, this is not a small knife, or it doesn't fold to a compact size. Let me show you. The pair 2 and pair 3 are known for not folding very compact, right? Because of this kind of bird eye that you get here on Spyderco. But you can tell here the shape of the scales here, it makes it a fairly tall knife, to where I would say you probably won't see a hell of a lot of difference between carrying this and carrying that, especially because it is a thicker boy, as you can see right there. Okay, this one it's a thicker knife than what you get on your pair 2 and pair 3, and it feels substantial in the hand. So let me give you it's probably the pair 2 is probably going to be, if you put tie scales on your pair 2, it'll probably feel very much like a pair 2 in your pocket. And that's the comparison against the bug outs. Obviously, it's a chunkier boy than either of the bug outs. So let me get started here with ergonomics. and the ergonomics are decent. What you have here, it's not contoured in this direction, but what it does have, it has a flat face here, and then another flat face here, and then a third flat face. Try saying that 3 times fast. And that's a third one right here. So it's faceted in such a way that it kind of, you know, it kind of mimics that, right? It kind of simulates that. And you kind of get the same thing in the back, where you have one face, another face, and then a third face back here. So it's contoured. And then in this direction, you got kind of your groove on your index finger, and then you have this kind of flat spot for your 2 middle fingers, and then your pinky kind of lands in this flat right here, such that the knife looks like this. In my large hands, it kind of, you know, it kind of wraps, I can kind of wrap around right here, okay? And it's fairly comfortable in the hand. You can feel the pocket clip, especially this tip. I do like that they've kind of, you know, it doesn't point up, it kind of points back down, so you can tell. But even with that, I can still feel it like back here. It kind of falls there. It's more comfortable in kind of a saber grip, because my hand kind of scooches where the pocket clip is now in the hollow of my hand. But on a hammer grip, I do feel the pocket clip's a little bit hot spotty right there. But the ergonomics are decent, and I think for, you know, if you're gonna use it, and you can use this as a hard use knife. It's a thicker blade. It's M390 blade. But I think if you're gonna really use it, you probably want gloves, just because of this little bit of hot spot. The contouring and everything feels good in the hand. You do have that one hot spot though. Now, cutting. So cutting with this one. So it's a thick blade. Let me see if I can give you, you know, kind of thickness here comparison. Yeah, so you've got a little bit thicker than what you get at the full thickness of the Para 2. Okay, so you've got a little bit thicker there. But the Para 2, it first, it's a full flat grind on a taller blade. So it comes down, and it's more aggressively ground. So it comes down to a thinner edge, or a thinner dimension behind the edge right here. This one carries the flat to about right here, so you also get a more robust tip. So this is not a knife that slices as good as a Para 2. Not, it's not even close. This is more of a, while I would say this will cut cardboard all day long, it'd be very, very slicey, or it's very, very slicey for stuff like cutting cardboard. I would say that this, if you're cutting zip ties, or if you're going, you know, the ties that, you know, tension ties, or any of those kinds of things, I would say that this one's better. Anywhere where you might end up putting a little bit of sideways force on this, I think this would be a better choice. This is certainly a much harder use than what you get from the blade of a Para 2 or a Para 3. Okay, it's certainly in the same category as the 0562 XM18. You know, where it's you know, a thicker blade, harder use, that sort of thing. It's not very slicey, but I usually, for my tasks, I usually prefer, you know, just a thicker blade, not because I do hard cutting with my knife, but because I like not having to worry about the blade, you know, not having to worry about, you know, am I gonna bend it, am I gonna break it, is it gonna snap, you know, any of that kind of stuff. I don't really worry about any of that kind of stuff with the 0456, certainly not. So cutting is decent, is great for hard use, but just know that it's not as slicey as what you get with certainly not a Bucket, certainly not a Para 2. But you do get a sheep's foot blade, and the sheep's foot blade has become, you know, it didn't start as being my favorite. You know, I thought the shape was a little weird to look at, you know, early in my collecting. But as I've progressed in my collection, as I've had more and more knives, the blade has become more attractive visually to me. I don't know if that's a thing. It's grown on me, And it's also, I also think that is very useful, especially for what I use it for. So there you go. That's kind of cutting. Action, it deploys very well, and I've always mentioned that there's two components to action, right? The first component is how it deploys, and the second is how it closes. In my opinion, is the deployment action is more important, because if I need to use a knife, right, I want to be able to reliably know that that I can use it, right? Putting the knife away, it's a little bit secondary to me. You know, it's always nice to get, you know, a controlled drop shot action or a fall shot action, but that's not the most important thing to me. To me, the most important thing is how it deploys. So this one, for instance, it deploys better than the 0562, okay, the Hinderer design. This one deploys better than that one, at least the samples that I have of that. But I think the closing action, you see, I need to really shake this one to get it closed. So I think that the deployment action is better on this one, but I think that the closing action, the 0562, is better. But as I said, for me, the deployment action is more important. So that's why I like the action on this one better. And I think the action is good. I think especially deployment is very reliable. It's snappy. I think the detent is good. I think that the flipper tab is very comfortable. It has just enough jimping, and you can light switch it or push button it. I usually push button this one just because the flat portion here lends itself for me pushing that way. So I actually enjoy flipping this one open. I think that the action on deployment is very good. On closing, it's okay, but it's smooth, and it's certainly I would say that it's very good at this price point. Okay, I'll say it like that. Now, fit and finish. I think and you've heard me say this before. I think zero tolerance is kind of great value for the money. Okay, at the price point that these come in, $300-ish, give or take. I think it's great value, because at that price point you're starting to get into Riyadh type prices, you know. And so these are made in the USA. This one is premium materials, right? You got, oh, it's not M390, it's 20CV. My apologies. But you've got a premium design. You know what, Dimitri Stankiewicz designed. He's a great designer. You've got a great fit and finish from Zero Tolerance. You've got titanium. You've got really nice anodizing, and the blue on this one really pops. What you're seeing on your screen, it's not me editing this to punch up the blue. It's that it is that bright. It's very bright. You got a great grind. I think it's a great package. I really do. One thing that I will say, actually, yeah, I think I'll mention it here. This one, I've always said that I like when they don't have internal milling, because I like the heft. I like when knives, you know, have some weight to it. That's kind of the reason that I have an unmilled titanium scales on my Para 3, you know, because I like them to be a little bit heavier. It's just, I like the feeling of heft, of solidity in my hand. That's something that I personally enjoy. And this one doesn't have internal milling, so this one is a chunky scales, and they're not milled. So this one is fairly heavy. So if you're looking for something to disappear in your pocket, it's certainly not going to be a carbon fiber bug out for sure. This is hefty. It has no internal milling. It's I'm gonna say, so my Zero Tolerance 0562, I have the carbon fiber version of that knife, but this one's heavier than that, even though it has a shorter blade. So no internal milling, which some of you might consider that as not great fit and finish. A lot of you like to have some milling inside for weight reduction. For me, it's a plus, but I just want to mention it in case you consider it a detriment to the knife. But one thing that I wanted to kind of point out is two things. One is the pivot. The pivot is really nicely done. You know, it's kind of decorative. You know, it's got some milling, you know, they've anodized it, but what I really wanted to show off, and hopefully this comes across. So this face of the knife, the one that's shining right here, it's completely smooth, okay? But the ones on the sides, hopefully it's coming across. This one and then this one has ever so slightly line milling. Hopefully that's coming across there. The same thing for this, and probably this larger one is probably the one where you'll see it best. Hopefully that's coming across. So it's got really nice milling, which also helps, you know, to the feeling that it's locked in. It gives you a little bit of texture, and I think that's really well done. I think that's beautiful. You know, it's you know, you get a lot of these knives with great milling, right? You know, the Grimsmons, the Herman knives, the whole blade works, you know, the skiff blades, all of those. This milling certainly not at that level, certainly not, but it's, you know, it's a little something that I think it's really nice. Airing of grievances, I don't have many. You know, my biggest grievance would be that this specific version is not available to you. You can find it in the secondary market. Maybe you can find the other version, the M4 black wash with the blue titanium scales. But I would say that the pocket clip, I think they could do better. First, it's not very deep carry. You can see how much it sticks out. You know, they've got a bent pocket clip. It's not very elegant. It's not recessed and milled into the scale. You know, it sits proud of the scale. You know, it seems like they did a great design and then they just slapped a clip on it. You know, it seems like an afterthought. There's knives that I can't speak, that they do that with, and I think that they could have done better. It's a little bit hot spotty. I don't know if anybody makes an aftermarket clip for this one. I'm gonna look for it, because I do think that it would be better to have a different pocket clip on this. I think that's my only grievance. My only two grievances really. Availability for this knife in particular, but again, you can get the other one, which I think, you know, I think 20CV is probably one of the greatest steals that you can have on just an EDC knife, right? But M4 is just a little bit more exotic, and I think it'd be nice to have that version as well. I don't think I will buy two of them. I don't think I would have two of this same knife. But if you like this one, then go check it out. I think it's called the 0456 BK. So anyways, guys, hopefully this has been helpful to you. Go check out the knife that is available, and if you enjoyed it and if you liked it, then like and subscribe. And until I see you at the next one, take care.